Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cambridge Veritas. This is lesson number 1, and today we're going to be looking at something incredibly important when it comes to sitting for the IELTS writing exam. Now, I do understand that a lot of you have this palpitating question that what makes it or breaks it when it comes to IELTS writing. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at some of the most important factors that can help you go from band 6 to band 8. So without further ado, let's get right in. So here we go. First of all, the theme of today's lesson is transforming IELTS writing, band 6 to band 8. But before we move forward, I want to show you something important. Please have a look. When students attempt an IELTS writing exam and they get band 6, there's a reason behind it. And what is that reason is an important question to ask. So I decided that I'm going to be mentioning a few characteristics of band 6 IELTS writing result. And what are those? Let's have a look at them one by one. So the first one that I have is relevant but underdeveloped ideas. Now, what do I mean by that? It's very simple to understand. When it comes to IELTS, you're able to write paragraphs, you're able to open paragraphs and give, let's say, whenever you're writing a paragraph, give a paragraph a topic sentence. For example, fast food is dangerous for health is a topic sentence because you're kind of introducing what the topic of this paragraph is. So it is relevant, but what you're not doing is you're not developing that idea further. Sometimes a common problem comes when students write multiple topic sentences within just one paragraph, and that is a wrong strategy. So instead of adding more examples or explaining why it is dangerous for health, you kind of keep adding more topic sentences, which is not a good idea. So that's band 6 characteristic for you. People who write good openings for a paragraph but do not develop it further. Let's move ahead. Number 2 is some unclear arguments. The arguments are not sort of connected with each other. At one place, you're talking about fast food being dangerous for health, and at some other place, you've started sort of suddenly talking about, let's say, the cravings of people in South Africa. Now, it's important to sort of bridge, even if you're trying to relate the two different arguments, it's important to bridge them together. And when you're not bridging these two arguments together, it is sort of unclear. So that is something that one needs to avoid, which in a way becomes a characteristic of band 6 IELTS result. Now, the next one that I have is limited sentence flexibility. Now, what does that mean? It means the kind of sentences that you write, they're predominantly simple. They're not complex sentences. What is the meaning of complex sentences? Complex sentences basically stand for sentences that have, let's say, different kinds of grammatical structures. Now, what is the meaning of different kinds of grammatical structures? For example, sentences with conditional forms. For example, if you had invited me, I would have come. This is a high-order complex sentence. Now, a lot of students either tend to write wrong structures of complex sentences or they don't write it at all. So the idea is to increase the sentence flexibility and not just sort of keep it limited. So this is an important factor to keep in mind. The next point is mechanical cohesion. What is the meaning of cohesion? A lot of students do not know that. Cohesion stands for the flow. And when it comes to cohesion, there's one word that comes to my mind, and that is cohesive devices. It means words that connect one idea or one paragraph to the other idea or another paragraph. So there is a lot of mechanical cohesion. There's no natural flow when it comes to one segment of the text with the other. So there you have it, mechanical cohesion as point number 4 characteristic of a band 6 IELTS exam. Now the last one that I have here is restricted vocabulary. Now there's one way to say this shirt that I'm wearing is quite expensive, but you can say the same thing with the help of advanced vocabulary, and one could say this shirt costs me an arm and a leg. So this is an important thing to sort of keep in mind and remember when it comes to band 6 characteristics. So this was all about band 6. Now I want to draw your attention to band 8 characteristics. So how does it move from band 6 to band 8? Let's get started. Let's talk about it. So the first characteristic is the sentences that you write or the kind of argument you want to sort of display in your written passage is clear and it is well developed. It means you're following all the rules of paragraph writing. You're using topic sentences. You're using supporting sentences with the help of examples, evidence, data, whatnot. And by the way, this data can be incorrect as well. It is not a UPA, it is not an UPSC exam, so that's important to remember. So the next important thing, and by the way, after complex sentences, after supporting sentences comes either a conclusion sentence or a transition sentence. So one makes use of all of these important different kinds of sentences for band 8 characteristics. Now let's move on to the next one. Relevant extended ideas. So you're not only talking about sentences and arguments, but you're also elaborating on it. As I said in the foregone statement, you're talking about the evidence, you're talking about the examples, you're also mentioning data, a lot of data. So the idea is you've made one topic sentence, you've kind of cleared this is what my paragraph going to be about. All you're doing now is extending your ideas with a lot of examples and with a lot of evidence and data with it. So it's kind of an extension of the first point that I'd mentioned before. Let's move to the next one. Flexible structure range. What does that mean? When it comes to range, it means grammatical range and accuracy. So you're not only using past sentences, you're not only using simple sentences, you're also using complex sentences, and you're using a lot of varieties of complex sentences. What are the different varieties of complex sentences? You have, let's say, conditional sentences. You have passive forms of sentences. You have reported speech forms of sentences. So all of these are characteristics of a band 8 flexible structure range of grammatical range and accuracy. You're using all of these different kinds of sentences to show the examiner that, hey ho, I'm able to use a lot of different kinds of sentences when it comes to my grammatical range. So you better give me a band 8. Now, the next characteristic is well-managed cohesion. That means the flow is perfect. When you wrote your introduction, you made sure that you write a thesis sentence, an outline sentence, and of course the paraphrase sentence which goes in the beginning. And then after that, you moved to your first main idea, and then you're moving to your next main idea too, and then eventually, finally, what comes in the end? Conclusion. So the most important thing here is you're managing your essay properly. There's a proper flow from the top to the end. And the last thing is skillful, uncommon vocabulary. What is the meaning of skillful, uncommon vocabulary? Now, I want to give you an example actually. It's on the next slide, but I'd love to mention it here as well. Imagine you say that There's a lot of pollution. Okay, there's a lot of pollution. Everybody says that. What is so uncommon about it? Well, if you are an advanced speaker, you might as well say there's a lot of carbon emission. So one person says there's a lot of pollution, and the other person says there's a lot of carbon emission. Which one is better? And if you were an examiner, who would you give a better score? Of course, this person, because this person uses uncommon vocabulary. So that's an important thing to remember here, ladies and gentlemen. So, I now want to show you a sample band 6 essay, not the complete essay, a segment of it. I'm going to show you a segment of it. I will read it out loud, and I will then tell you what are the wrong things in that. Are you ready? So here we go. Nowadays, there's a debate about whether governments should invest more in railways or roads. Some people think railways are better, while others prefer roads. I will discuss both sides. Okay, nice, clean, simple. But what is wrong? The first thing that's wrong about this is it lacks depth and sophistication. It's got very short sentences, although that is good. But when it comes to sophistication, when it comes to higher order vocabulary or the range of sentences, I'm afraid I can't quite find it there. Everything's quite written in present simple, a majority of the sentences. There's one future sentence that I can see. However, future can as well be presented in a lot of ways, not just using the word will. Now, the next thing is it uses simple language, which is sort of an extension of what I was talking about before. And then finally, it doesn't clearly state the essay's position. Okay, let's go back to the first sentence. Nowadays, there's a debate about whether government should invest more in railways or roads. Okay, I understand what you're trying to say, but what is the topic sentence? Do you want to say that the government is spending a lot on railways, or do you want to say the government is trying to spend a lot on roads? If you read this statement again, it is a very, very generic statement. I repeat, it is a very, very generic statement. It is making just a general argument. It is not the main idea of the paragraph. So it is very, very unclear, is what I'd say. Now let's transition this to something very important. I'm now going to show you 4 transformation steps. If you have the same paragraph, how would you change that paragraph into a band 8 standard? First, we're going to be talking about 4 important tips, and then I'll show you what I wrote. Ready? Let's dive in. Here we go. So the first thing is task response upgrade. Now, what does that mean? It means add examples and data, develop your argument thoroughly. You have a main idea, and then you sort of follow it up with examples and data. And finally, create clearer links to the question. Whatever the question is, try to sort of relate your answer to the question. That's called task response upgrade. You upgrade your answer with the help of examples and data's clearer links to the question. So that's part 1. Now, step 2 is coherence and cohesion upgrade. Now, what does that mean? Coherence and cohesion basically stand for linking the words together, the ideas together, and the overall flow, ladies and gentlemen. It means replace basic connectors. For example, words like so, therefore, hence are quite basic connectors. You sort of change it to ergo, nonetheless, regardless, with sophisticated ones, which are the latter ones that I'd mentioned, and then improve paragraph flow, add clear topic sentences. So adding these connectors basically improve improve the overall flow of the paragraph. And it sort of also says that add clear topic sentences. That means don't just make a general statement, decide what you are going to be talking about. That maybe government is spending a lot on railways these days, or improving the infrastructure, road infrastructure in India or whatever country you are in. So that's coherence and cohesion upgrade for you. Now the next one is lexical resource upgrade. Now before you read this, I want you to focus on this word called lexical. What is the meaning of lexical? It means vocabulary. What does it mean? Once again, it means vocabulary. So how do you upgrade your vocabulary? You replace basic vocabulary with sophisticated alternatives, and you also add collocations and field-specific terminology. Now, what is the meaning of collocations? Collocations are words that we use in daily life that sort of go together. Do you want to see an example? Let me show you an example. So we have one collocation here. The trains are good because they make less pollution. Remember, I gave you this example before as well. Make less pollution. Make less pollution is a form of collocation, because these kind of words sort of go together that we use in daily life. But then this is basic. Do you want to change it? Let's change it to Band-Aid. This is Band-Aid for you. Modern rail networks significantly reduce carbon emission. Make less pollution changes to reduce carbon emissions and alleviate urban congestion. That means there's a lot of traffic on the road, changes to alleviate urban congestion. So this is one example of how you can use, once again, lexical resources upgraded with better collocations. So here we go. Let's move to the next one. The last one is grammar range upgrade. Can you see what are all these components here? These are band descriptors of the IELTS exam. So the last one here is grammar range upgrade, which means add complex sentence structures, which we'd mentioned before, variety of sentence patterns, and most importantly, improve punctuation. Now, what is the meaning of punctuation? Comma, full stop, all of those signs that you see, they're called punctuation. So even if your punctuation is not right, you'll not get a Band-Aid. So you've got to keep in mind that you're using full stops properly. I've seen a lot of students use full stop with a little bit of space from the rest of the sentence. That is wrong. Never use space between a full stop and your sentence. They always go together. It's not fashion. They always go together. So, are you ready to see the final answer? So the final one is transformed Band-Aid version. And here it goes. Read it out loud with me. The allocation of government funding between railway infrastructure and road development has become a continuous issue in many countries. Okay, now there's a clear topic sentence. The person wants to mention that it is a clear issue. Hey ho, it is a clear issue for me. While both transport systems serve crucial roles in modern society, this essay will examine the merits of each option before arguing that railway investment should take precedence. Wow. Good vocabulary, clear topic sentence, advanced lexical resources, and varieties of sentence structures. Now, what do I mean by varieties of sentence structure? The allocation of government funding between railway infrastructure and road development has become a continuous issue. Okay, cool. While. Now, if you see this word while here, the moment you start your sentence with a while, it is a cohesive form, sort of a cohesive device, which is connecting one part of the sentence with the second clause, which is this. The merits of each, that's it. So what are we doing here? There's a complex sentence structure. There's a simple sentence structure. There is vocabulary upgrade. There is proper task response with a clear idea. A lot of good things. So let's have a look at it. Opening is sophisticated. Then you have the entire thing clearly stating the essay's position. It's very, very clear, which is it has become a continuous issue in the country. And finally, it uses advanced vocabulary, which I'd mentioned to you before. So it's time to wrap up this lesson, and let's understand the final things that we've learned in this lesson. So the key improvements are, number one, use sophisticated vocabulary. Use words like continuous, precedence, and unfeasible. After that, use complex sentence structures. There's got to be, simple sentences are not wrong. You've got to use simple sentences with complex sentences. That's very, very important. Finally, specific examples. For example, inclusion of data, real-world examples, etc. And finally, it's got to have a clear position. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all that we have in today's lesson. And I hope you understood how to go from band 6 to band 8. If you're struggling with band 6 for a long, long time, I hope these sort of tips will help you jump from band 6 to band 8 in just a short amount of time. Thank you for being with me in this lesson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Until then, take care and bye-bye from Cambridge Veritas.